Now, this is the problem. That's not even a problem. It's a thought. Do you reckon it's because society now, as in like people of today's society, are just a product of their environment and the society they come from? Or is it just a human need to be recognized, to feel appreciated, to get the attention, endorphin hit from that? Have people, as a species, been fixated with that to begin with? Has it been in our DNA? Because like as a byproduct, if you have 1,000 people looking at your reels, you know, it feeds that endorphin hit, but it makes you feel accepted. It makes you feel smarter, you know, whatever, recognized. Like a tribal leader that would get topped off by another up-and-comer with better ideas or different ideas. Insurgents, rebel leaders, like these are all things, man, just from human instinct. That's why it shits me when people say it's a sign of the times. It's like, hang on, man. People have always fucking done this.
The sign of the times is what everyone has always said. The Greeks, ancient Greeks, said it. It's all over soon.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's said the same thing.
Yeah.
And it might be. I don't know. I don't care. But it might be. But I'm not going to worry about it. Everyone has thought that they are the last generation and that World War III or whatever is going to...
We've had that over our head, like you said, that cloud.
Yeah.
It's just humanity has had that over its head forever.
Yeah. Every tribe has thought that they're the last tribe.
Yeah. And that's why I say we're very short-sighted.
Yeah. Because you can't imagine a universe without you.
No. Can you imagine?
Because it doesn't exist.
Can you imagine a place with like, how many times you hear in the history, the 100-year war, the 200-year war, the 50-year war, the 5-day war, the 5-year war? I mean, you're from fucking Iraq. Like, you've had wars for the last, 2-3 decades straight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
5,000 years at least.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching the Gulf War in the early 90s on TV.
Good times.
You're fucked. I remember watching it thinking, what the fuck's going on? I was a kid.
Got good ratings.
It did. It was the first televised war. First truly televised war.
In colour.
Yeah. But I remember it, man, because the LA riots were going off at the same time. So I remember being a kid in the living room, watching this shit go down. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I was like 6-7 years old. It was my first understanding of like, the world's fucked.
Yeah.
And then thinking this could happen here. Like, but little did I know what I know now.
Sure.
Right?
That's what it gets you thinking, even if you know what you know now. But if you watch enough of it, and if you immerse yourself in anything that's bad that's been televised or just shared across any electromagnetic wave possible, then you will internalize it, and your brain doesn't actually understand how the world is. You might, because there's a certain part of your brain that you think is you, but the rest of it's just sitting back and just getting secondhand data that's coming through, and is not really aware. Like, you can raise your heart rate just by seeing something that is scary. But your conscious self may not be scared because you might know this is a TV, I'm seeing a photo, it's fine. But the rest of your brain, it's constantly getting information in because that's how it was designed. Everything was reality. There wasn't that like divide and sort of like
like the suspension of disbelief didn't exist because whatever you saw was what you were seeing.
Exactly. Every story was probably true, or you couldn't disprove it. Everything you saw was in front of you. Yeah. So going back to that, if you keep feeding yourself what's happening around the world, and if it's negative or just reality, but too much reality, where you're cherry picking only the bad parts and you're not seeing any of the good, and there is good, vast amounts of good, but that doesn't get ratings, so no one's going to tell you about it.
Why do you reckon people feed on the negativity?
It's instinct. So back to what you were saying, is this human instinct? And it is. It's a survival mechanism that's been hijacked. It's been sort of overridden because in a tribe, you want to know the bad things. You actually do, because it means you're less likely to do them. You want to know where the crocs are. You want to know where...
The crocs?
Yeah, you want to know if there's a creek you can drink water from, or if someone told you that, hey, this guy went down there and he got eaten.
Yeah.
You want to know these things, but it's okay to know everything that's bad that someone can tell you when you're in a small group.
Because there might be 10 things.
Exactly. And it's all relevant to you.
Not a constant feed.
And it's all relevant to you. But when it becomes irrelevant and a constant feed, you only want to know the good things about the people immediately close to you, and you do know those things.
Okay, so then...
You're not going to know good things about strangers because you don't care.
Okay. See, that's the thing, right? I generally agree with, like, pretty much everything you just said, right? I don't need to give a shit about Kate and what Prince William in England.
Yep.
Him and his missus having fucking marital fucking woes or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know. It crept into the news feed. I'm like, fuck.
Is there something right now?
I don't know. I've been reading about Harry and not even reading about Harry. Harry. I've been reading headlines with him and his missus for like the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Actively not going into the articles because I know it's just going to feed the algorithm. Yeah. Right? But I see him.
They see you lingering though.
Every fucking day that pops up, right? Yep. There's something to do with Harry, right? Mm-hmm. Now William's starting to get into the feed as well. It's like, for fuck's sakes, like, we just got over the Queen's death.
Yeah.
King Charles, is in hospital for some cancer fight.
Yeah, she's still warm.
Yeah.
Can we just wait?
Right?
Slow down.
I don't need to give a shit about their marriage.
Yeah,
I don't. Right?
You don't.
The monarchy is not going to bother me if it collapses tomorrow.
No.
Right? We're pretty safe in Australia. We're
chill.
Yeah, right?
Which we are honestly... But... the only thing further than the rest of the world than us is penguins. That's it. And maybe Tassie, but that doesn't count. That's it. Like...
Don't they have bases in Antarctica?
Who?
I don't know. They said I think it was Americans or aliens.
Yeah, scientists only. Oh, there's a military base, but do you know how fucking cold it is?
Yeah, but have you seen all those conspiracy videos about the fucking edge of the earth?
Anyone that thinks there's anything going on there that's at all productive has never been in negative 20, so let alone negative 70.
You're not a flat earther after you...
No, I'm definitely a flat earther.
No. I'll get to my point.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, man.
No.
No. Legit. So... I was thinking about this the other day, right? Everyone's retweeting, everyone's resharing the humanity, the oppression, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We're talking about how much can you actually care. Like, it's not in us to care about things on the other side of the world because we only should be looking past our tribe because we physically can't handle it, which there is logic behind that. It's in our DNA, in our design, whatever. At what point should you be caring about things on the other side of the world? I mean... You're looking at the pandemic, right? Mm-hmm. Anything that's global. Because before COVID, there was bird flu, there was SARS, there was 100 things, right?
Mm-hmm.
At what
swine flu? I love that. That was my favourite plague.
My favourite plague?
Swine flu.
Swine
flu. Yeah.
My favourite plague. Because we've got so many to pick from. You know what I mean? Fucking hell, man. I was just thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
Can you live with this? Can you, like...
Can I live with myself knowing that I don't know?
That you... I mean, you will know. It's inevitable that you're going to find out about this shit, right?
Yeah. How?
I was talking about this with a few people over the last couple of weeks, about the purpose of religion and, like, humanity's ultimate goal, right? And I said, look, we can all agree to disagree on your outlook on the end of the world or where your body goes after you die or whatever, right? The final resting place of whatever you have. Whatever you perceive, it's your bag, right? But what's the final end goal? Worshipping the same fucking thing shouldn't be the final end goal. As a society, I mean, what is the final end goal of each tribe? For everyone to be safe, to have drinking water, comfort, blah, blah, blah.
And then you die, then your kids die. And then it just keeps going.
And it just keeps recycling.
Until the sun expands out to the orbit of almost Earth.
That's going to happen in a couple billion years.
5 billion years.
5 billion years.
It's already halfway.
You already like resigned to that?
No, I think that's a great thing. I think it's 5 billion years of fun until that happens. And then maybe we move on somewhere else. Maybe we won't. Who cares? Have a good time.
You're that naive and optimistic to think that humans are going to survive 5 billion years?
Maybe.
Are you kidding? There's no way.
Never know.
We will burn ourselves out.
We won't be the same species because we speciate quite easily as organisms in general.
Evolution's a slow burn, though, man.
It is, but it's
very slow burn.
But we have been around for 250,000 years.
As we are now.
As DNA, you know, Homo sapien. You know, like if you had sex with a person 200,000 years ago, hopefully it's female, but if you did, you're likely to make offspring. That's what I'm saying as a species.
Yeah.
We eventually will speciate. It's just what happens. And we, just like any other species before us that we kind of stemmed from, we won't be around as we are, and then it moves on. And you can still call us people, maybe.
Okay, hang on, wait. We're jumping ahead. Let me just write this down. Speciate. I've got to remember this because I want to come back to it.
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the tribes go, right?
Tribes, sorry.
Protecting,
I'm jumping ahead by 5 billion years.
And then going back 250. It's like your version of Back to the Future. Scott, you know what I mean? You gotta help, Doc.
Sorry. Go.
Just drink your Maximus, man.
I'm trying.
Take a breath.
I'm trying.
Okay, now, if we can agree that tribes were set up to give people comfort, greater strength in numbers, achieve greater goals, expand, etc. Because tribes never stayed the same size, man. They're always going to expand because
always expanding.
People see the strength in numbers and think we need more than those people over on the other side of the fucking hill.
Yeah.
Right? When the Crusades happen, it's like, fuck this.
Yep.
Let's get everyone on the same hill.
You can only control more than a certain amount with some sort of joint belief.
Exactly, right? So that's, I mean, you can sort of agree on that tribalism aspect.
Yeah.
If we're a global society now, should we be responsible for fucking, child soldiers in Liberia or whatever, or, kids in favelas in Colombia?
We should. But if you can't.
But we have the resources to do it as a planet.
I think the government should, or organizations that can. If you have the means to help, you should.
Yeah.
But if you don't have the means, unless you want to dedicate your life to some sort of cause, then which is cool, that's fine, that's great. But unless you want to dedicate your life to something, you don't have the means as an individual.
No.
That's all I'm saying.
But then, you can say that, right? But then you look at things like Elon Musk tweeting one thing and collapsing an entire crypto market. Taylor Swift tweeting one thing and, motivating millions of people to go out and vote. Taylor Swift being a catalyst in the upcoming elections, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
They shot Gandhi. And then they shot JFK. Then they shot his brother.
They shot Gandhi?
Well, you know what I mean.
Oh.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Like, JFK came out. He was the youngest president at the time.
I liked him.
Right? Elect. He brought a lot of democratic sort of things to the table.
Yeah.
Kicked off more civil rights shit. Right?
Yeah.
They killed him.
I didn't know about the civil rights stuff, but I just like his speech.
All men are created equal.
No. We go to the moon not because it's easy or whatever he says, but because it's hard.
That's not what your country can do for you.
Oh, that's also,
but what you can do for your country.
Yeah, that's part of it. I've got a terrible impression of him, sorry. But I just remember him saying that we go to the moon not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Yeah, fair enough, there's Cold War, there's all that, there's the motivation behind it, whatever. But there is a beauty behind that, every human does want to do something, not because it's easy, because it's difficult, and they want to be the first to do it. And that's inbuilt in us.
I should give you the book my mum got me, man, like on my 23rd birthday or 21st. It's Speeches That Change Society or something.
Oh, yeah?
It's like 100 speeches that change society.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good read.
Yeah, it would be.
Like landmark speeches. Like JFK's one is in there. I remember that specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I mean, man. These people come along through eons of fucking time that change the course of civilization. We went from being sun worshippers.
So what are you saying?
So what I'm saying is, at what point is it in people to actually be aware of the outside tribes and the circumstances of other people born on the same fucking ground as we are? At what point do we have an obligation to, like...
That's a difficult one because it's
Is it a think tank?
No, it is.
I'm just saying.
I'm just thinking that's a good question because... if you were to say, at this point, you must care. And it's like, okay, says who? Says me. To myself? Am I making the rule to myself? Or am I making a rule to other people?
Well, dude, most people wouldn't give a shit to help their neighbour unless we made laws about it. Most people just throw trash over the fence.
I think
we have a law, dude.
I think you have to care, and you should care, and help, and be nice, and add to someone's life that is close to you. Someone, not just close as in like good friends, but just someone that is near you.
Well, you're talking about the fundamentals of Sikhism now.
Yeah, I guess so. It's just alleviate some suffering from someone else's day in a small way. But if you do that all the time, you're doing it in a big way too.
Is there a movie about that?
I don't know.
About the guy that does one positive action, and then the point of that positive action was for them to go out and do it as well, and then it would just eventually multiply.
Is that the butterfly effect?
Is it? I can't remember what movie it was.
I don't know what happened.
I feel like I remember the ad. It was a trailer, on the old VHS tapes.
Yeah.
In a world.
In a world.
One happiness. One action.
No, it's a good question. Like, for me, I just go, you know what? I care about the people I care about, and that's it. And if I meet someone spontaneously that I feel urged to care about, I'll add them in. And I want to know what's happening in their life as much as they're willing to share. And if they need help and I can help, I will. And if I can't, then I'll at least be there and do something, you know. But beyond that, I don't really feel obligated. I'll be honest. It's a selfish thing, maybe. Maybe it's a...
We're all selfish by nature.
We are. Like, maybe it's a brutally honest, sort of callous way of saying it, but there is something to it where I don't care. Where, like, if someone is far away enough where I can't actually help them unless I dedicate my life to them, I'm going to ignore everyone that I do care about.
Yeah, okay.
You only have a certain amount of time. You only have a certain amount
that's why, like, I say that humans are short-sighted.
Yeah.
You get all these fucking, like, you know, they get cult of personality sort of followings. They're going to change the world. It's like, dude, they're not going to live for another 20 years. Like, how many more people are going to influence?
I do commend people that want to do good things. Like, I really do respect Elon Musk because... I don't know if he's a little autistic. People say that. Maybe he is. Who cares? But the idea is that he had this thought where he's like, the Earth can be catastrophically hit in a way where the Earth is fine, but humans as a civilization are gone. What do I want to do? I've sat there thinking about how people pay and made PayPal and sold it for millions, and now I've got other companies and I've got the resources and the means to do it. I want to make sure people can, at least this is what I think he's saying, I want to make sure people can sustain life here as much as possible and help it and try and sort of evade the trajectory that we're on in terms of, you know, like with electric cars and all that stuff and batteries and whatever. But at the same time, I also can see that we're not doing anything about creating a second colony. And to him, that was very, very important. He's like, it may not be relevant for now, if it's a far-fetched idea for now, but we're not doing anything. We're not even on our way there. It might take hundreds of years, thousands of years for it to actually become a thing, but I don't want to see humans die out from an asteroid, which is guaranteed to happen.
Oh, we've seen it in history, man.
It's guaranteed.
Yeah.
An asteroid 20 kilometers in diameter will completely...
And you think about 20 Ks, it's not that far.
Not that
it's
far.
Like from here to the city.
Not that big.
A bit bigger than that.
Not that big. Just a pebble. That's enough, because the atmosphere is thinner than the skin of an apple if the Earth was the apple.
Nothing.
That's
There's no
it.
barrier.
If you were a giant holding the Earth like an apple, you can't even feel the wetness of the water of the ocean.
Wait, hang on. Say it again.
If you were a giant holding an apple, but it's the Earth.
Yeah.
If it was that scale, the ocean, from its deepest part to the mountains, the highest point, it will feel like a perfect sphere.
Oh, as in like, yeah, okay.
If a pebble hits that, it's enough to disrupt
Everything.
humans,
Yeah.
at least, and most organisms, to the point of sending us back. Even if there's humans left over, we're sent back 10,000 years, 5,000 years, at least.
Humans left over would have to, assuming they have any knowledge whatsoever.
Do you know how to make this phone?
We've got, yeah.
I don't fucking know how to
We've
make
talked
this
about
phone.
that at length on the pod.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually fascinated with that sort of shit, like apocalyptic shit, but like even historically.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what kills me with like when people bitch and moan about, I've got a headache, I got this, I got these ailments. It's like, cunt, do you know what?
You're going to be okay.
I've gotten up to go to work with, man, just to graft. And I always say, anyone that has to take days off work based on headaches or mental health days, someone's covering your rent. Like,
yeah.
Someone's putting food on your table.
I don't think I feel almost guilty taking those because I know I can.
Oh,
like
dude,
the mental health days.
I just don't, because it's like, get up and fucking work.
I think I've done it, but I've never said I want a mental health day. It's more so of like, I want a lazy day. I've worked 14 days straight. I'm not working today.
No,
I've done that.
It's very rare for me to say that.
It's super rare, but I've done it.
For me to do that has to be a Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Mentally, I have to tell myself it's a Sunday. Most people aren't working today, so just you can have this one off.
Oh no, I love taking like a Wednesday off.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I used to love.
I can't bring myself to do it.
I can't do it,
but when I do it,
it's very rare.
It's a weird feeling, and I'm like, oh, no one's mad at me for doing this because I don't ever do it, and a bunch of people do. It's like the norm almost.
Man, if people have got 10 sick days a year, they use all of them.
Yeah, they see it as like an accruement thing.
They use all of them,
and I want to, but I just can't bring myself. I'm like, if I do. Even though I know it's a lie,
it's not a lie if you believe it.
Yeah, because I'm telling myself, like, if I tell you, hey, bro, I can't come into work today. I just don't feel that good.
Yeah.
And I lie to you because I want a day off.
Yeah.
I'm not doing shit. And I'm not going to say that to you because it's disrespectful because you're my boss. So I'm like, hey, I'm just not feeling well.
Yeah.
If I say that enough, I might actually not feel that well eventually. I'm in that belief of like you kind of can talk yourself into being.
Oh, you can convince yourself of anything.
Whatever you tell people you are. If you
can convince yourself of anything.
I'm not that good of a driver. I'm a terrible driver. Every day you just tell people that's your thing. That's your identity almost.
Yeah.
You might actually become a shit driver because you think you're a shit driver. So you fall into that pattern of being like, well, no, this is what I do because I'm a shit driver. I don't give way to, I park in keep clear ways. I just sit
every
there,
element of bad driving.
I sit there and I just kind of like mope around. I'm not even aware of anyone else. I'm a shit driver. Leave me alone. So it's like, I know it's a pretty far-fetched example, but it's like you can almost fall into what you know are symptoms of the thing you're pretending. If you say it enough.
It's not even just that, man. I gave myself a stutter. I literally gave myself a stutter. It wasn't my fault.
Today, Junior.
Dude, I was working.
How'd you do that?
First job.
Yeah.
Like as in after high school. And I stuttered when I said something, right? And the guy gave me shit for it.
Oh.
And then after that, I became mindful of me stuttering, which I'd never done.
Oh, fuck.
And then I started stuttering all the fucking time.
Because you're second guessing.
And that was it. I had a stutter for years.
Yeah, well, I started moving my lips after talking.
What?
So, so I would say a sentence and then move my lips a little bit. It's a nervous thing. So I only did it around a couple of friends that I had, which weren't really friends. It was when I was kind of figuring things out in early high school. And I think I said something once, and they were just like, why do you do that? I'm like, what do I do? What? Because I was nervous around them. I'm like, please like me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would be like, hey, man, that's not what we're...
Okay.
And I would just like sort of twitch a little bit. And I started doing it every time with them. But then I'd find that I'm not doing it with anyone else. Because they kept telling me that that's what I do. And then as soon as I'm not around them, it's gone. So because I became aware of it.
Yeah.
The same thing. It's like you're aware of it, you're overthinking it, and then you do it anyway because you're overthinking it and you're nervous, and it's nervous energy coming out somehow.
I'm fucking fascinated with like extinction events in the past.
Oh yeah,
and that's what shits me when people complain about like headaches or whatever. It's like, do you know what the human species has done to overcome everything we've ever overcome?
And so many have not made it, but the ones that have, they went through some shit
Yeah.
that we'll never know about.
To the extent, yeah.
Yeah, we'll never know everything that all the hardships.
We can only know about what we can find.
Yeah.
But everything else is up in speculation. You know what I mean?
What's the oldest form of writing? Like 15,000 years? Not even.
Fuck, I can't remember. I was reading about this shit. I'm fascinated with hominids and then how they diversified coming out of Africa.
Yeah.
Like Denisovans and then fucking like the split between people that went to like North America, people that went to South America.
Yeah.
Land bridges. I love reading about land bridges, man.
Land bridges as in like the Bering Strait and all that?
Yeah. And then like with continental drift, oceans forming, disappearing, people now all of a sudden being able to like intermix and stuff like that.
That was a crazy moment when they met for the first time after a long time through ships going from Europe to North America.
Yeah.
Because those people have been cut off for...
That's why they say...
I don't even know how long.
The American accent's closer to what the original British accent was. Because they maintained their accent while the European one evolved with every other colony.
Interesting.
How crazy is that?
That is pretty interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The American accent is what original OG...
What's your favourite accent of English?
Of English?
Yeah.
I want to say Egyptian.
Egyptian? I like all the people. The people are the best people.
I say it because I think of my old GP, who's Egyptian, lived in Clayton. And every time I'd see him, great GP, like totally aware of like mental health and shit, even though he's like an Arab. Do you know what I mean? There's none of this would be fine. It was like...
Dimitri, how are you? How is your bottom? Is it better? Is it better now? It's very good.
I just remember him like every time he'd actually give me something for like an anti-inflammatory or something, he'd be like, take one before meals, take two every other day.
Take one when you feel like it. I love Egyptians. They're great people. The Egyptians, here's a fun fact for you. You might already know this. Egyptians are the partiers of... the fun makers of the Arab world.
Fun makers?
They make all the comedies. They make all the great music that's fun and dancey. You know?
Why are you doing that shoulder?
Yeah, they're just like... Yeah. But like they're the artistically, they're the most advanced.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to learn how to play the oud or something like that, like a lute, you know, you have to go to Egypt.
Do you know why?
Why?
Who fed directly into Egypt?
Huh?
Which society and civilization fed directly into Egypt?
I don't know.
The ancient Greeks.
Ah.
I had to bring it back.
Very nice. Yeah, look, the ancient Greeks definitely got pretty far with science, arts, philosophy, just general, like, let's do some shit. And then the Arabs had it for a while too.
Let's do some shit.
Yeah, the Arabs were like, we want to do some shit. And 1,000 years ago, they were doing some shit. It was great. And then some idiot came out of nowhere, some Khalifa, which is just like a person that, you know, is like the Pope of Islam. He came out and he's like, this is in the 12th century. And he's like, the manipulation of numbers is the work of the devil. And everyone left. The Christians left, who lived and coexisted peacefully with the Muslims and did science.
Yeah.
The Jews left. The non-believers left. Everyone fucked off because they were like, we don't want to associate with these people. They've gone weird. And we've never recovered since then.
One thing
I say we because, you know, I'm born in Iraq, but I don't even feel like they're my people anymore because they're obsessed with dumb shit.
Wait, Iraq is in... You're talking about just Iraq in general?
Well,
because, look,
the center of the golden age of Islam was in Baghdad.
Yeah. No. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is every Iraqi that I know in Melbourne is different. Like Egyptians. Yeah. I've said it before. Every Jippo that I know in Melbourne...
There's not many, so you're likely to meet different ones.
Is different. Yeah. You've got Maronites, you've got Muslims, you've got Sunni, Shia, you've got Coptics.
Yep.
It's every bag. Same with the Iraqis, man.
That's true.
Funnily enough, I've met more Chaldeans than anything else, which is really weird. I don't know why. I met two Chaldeans, like, you know.
Chaldeans? What's that?
Chaldean Iraqis, man. You'd notice you'd recognize the flag for sure. Hang on a second.
I wouldn't recognize the flag. I'm not good with flags.
You've definitely seen.
I probably know the word in Arabic, but it might be a bit different in English.
Hang on. You've definitely seen this thing, man. That thing. Tell me you've seen that symbol.
I don't think so.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Bro, you've never seen that?
Can you look up the word Chaldean or whatever and then translate it to Arabic? I just want to see what it actually says.
A Chaldean's Arab, Neo-Aramaic, blah, blah, blah. Chaldeans are predominantly Catholic.
Yep.
Ancient Chaldeans, Chaldean Empire. Chaldeans are proud as fuck, man. They're like, I'm just trying to think of what a demographic of Greeks I can actually tie this in. What the hell?
If you just look up Chaldean, translate Arabic.
Yeah, no, I looked up Chaldean Arabic and then... yeah.
Yep.
Chaldean translate Arabic.
Yeah, you need to write translate, otherwise Google gets confused what you're trying to find.
Have a sus.
Kaldani.
There you go.
Kaldani, yeah. There's a lot of them here because Iraqi Muslims are not very nice to anyone that's not. And they're not even nice to Muslims. So...
Iraqi Muslims aren't nice to Muslims?
They're not nice to different types of Muslims. Yeah, they like to be with their own type.
No, wait, hang on.
Sunni, Shia.
You mean if you're not Sunni, then you're like...
If you're not Sunni...
The majority is Sunni, aren't they? In Iraq.
I think so, yeah.
I'm just taking a punt.
Yeah, I think so. Well, it borders on Iran, so I think the majority of the areas that border Iran are Shia.
Yeah.
And then Sunnis are scattered all over the place. So there's some Shia down south, and up north is the Kurdistan and whatnot. But they're just not. They're not very smart people. They don't really like to see beyond today.
Short-sightedness.
Very short-sighted.
See what I mean?
Yeah, and I say they're not smart people. That's not a fair thing to say because there are smart ones in there. But as a culture, it's not a very intelligent culture. It doesn't. It's very short-sighted.
It doesn't value intelligence.
Doesn't value intelligence. No.
Okay,
no.
This is the irony of it, though, right?
Yeah.
I brought this up because I had two Iraqi kids that used to come on here like semi-frequently back in the day, right? And I was talking about stereotypes and how Arabs like wogs catch a bad rap when they come to Melbourne. Asians get it as well in the same breath because I remember I tied them all in, right? What's the one thing that Arab families, South Asian families, and let's just start with South Asians and Arabs. What's the one common trait like families that come here value? And even there, across the board, generally.
Their family.
Higher education for their kids.
Yeah.
Their kids have to be doctors, have to be accountants.
That's true. I was going too deep with
it. Yeah. Because it essentially circles back to family. You know what I mean?
No, circles back to title.
Yeah.
They want a title.
For their family.
They're obsessed with title.
Exactly.
Not just for their family, but for other people.
Yeah. As in it makes them look better.
Yeah.
It represents family. It represents what the family's achieved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's what I was saying. Okay, it's amazing how the stereotype of the dumb, fucking ignorant migrant or the kids of migrants here from South Asian, Arab, wog families.
Yeah.
They're all so fucking focused on higher education.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they are, but they don't care if you are well-read.
Nah.
All they care about is your qualifications and your degrees that you've picked up. And
the degrees mean jack shit if you skated through to get it.
Well, even if you did well. Even if you did well and you're just not an inquisitive person, you're just doing it to, please your family.
Oh, if you're getting a degree for the wrong reason, you mean?
Most of them are.
If you're doing anything for the wrong reason, it's not going to work out.
Most Iraqis that are, well-educated, and I say in quotation, in terms of, high education, they don't really have passion. Passion's not something you see, and they're not doing it because it's the only thing they can think about.
Do you think do you mean passion in general?
Passion for the thing that they did well in.
Ever? As in, okay, hang on. Do they have passion generally? Can they find passion like within their culture? Like,
Oh yeah. No,
Okay.
there's definitely things you can be passionate towards.
Yeah.
Like singing, dancing, and listening to your Iraqi music, and going out to shawarma and going out and getting some soft serve ice cream and hanging out with your family and
what's
friends
funny?
and spraying some fucking
When
water in the garden.
When you said that they're not passionate about that thing, the first thing I thought of, I don't know why, it was this video that I circulated over the last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they've made a meme out of a scene from a Greek movie from back in the day, right?
Yeah.
I sent the video to my mum, and she's like, I'm pretty sure that was from a movie from like the 60s that I watched. And it says that the meme just says, when you've just done like a night out, like, and you've spent too much money at the Greek like club, right?
Yeah.
And it's this guy dancing, right? And he's got a bottle, and he's like sculling the bottle, and he's just going around doing he's by himself, and he's just got a couple guys in the background. Then he douses his jacket, he takes his tie off,
No.
douses it,
Yeah.
and then lights it, right?
This
and
isn't a movie?
yeah,
Yeah,
and flings
okay.
it away.
Yeah.
Then he's dousing his jacket
Oh, no.
lapels, and the guy next to him is trying to stop him. He's like, fuck off. Lights his jacket on fire and keeps doing spins with a dart in his mouth until
Yeah.
he flings the jacket away and it's on fire. Oh, that's fucking passion, man.
It is passion. Yeah, no. I probably misspoke. They definitely have passion in their life, but it's generally not about their occupation or what they really pursue and put themselves through a lot of stress to achieve. They're not passionate about it.
Ever. As in, like,
I haven't seen it.
you can say that objectively, where it's like anyone you've seen that's ever excelled in like higher education or whatever, or a field.
I'm talking about Arabs specifically.
Yeah, we're talking about Arabs.
Yeah.
They've excelled and projected themselves in some field, but they're really actually passionate about it.
There's going to be exceptions, but for the majority, yeah, unfortunately.
And the motivation just purely lies in like the recognition and the estate, the prestige.
The title. They're obsessed with titles. It's
interesting.
It's a bit of a disease, like a mental virus, where they're obsessed with like titles and
Why? I mean, what do you think?
because they
As in coming
value
from
it.
within the community,
They
why do
value
you
it.
think?
They just value it.
Dude, Greeks are the same, yeah? Like, as in, when I was growing up, everyone had to be a doctor or a solicitor or whatever. I was a bum. You know, I didn't go to a private school. You know, but eventually I just did my own thing. And everything I've achieved is on my own back. I give a fuck what anyone thinks.
And then they love you for it regardless.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're
to
just
be
happy
heralded.
for you.
Yeah, to be heralded.
Yeah.
But, you know, you don't have kids yet. You're
If
not
you
married.
ignore them enough and you do well anyway, they pretend like they never said anything.
They pretend they were backing you the entire time.
Yeah.
But you remember who backed you and who didn't.
Yeah. But you still love them because they're your parents.
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
You're like, you know what? Thanks, Mum.
Well,
Like,
it's not even-
I know that you've wanted the best for me the whole time. And my mum specifically has always been like, just do whatever you love. Like, do whatever you want. Whatever you do, just do it well. And set some things that you'd like to do and do them. My dad is like, all right, you got to study, you got to do this, you got to do these courses, you got to get this, you got to get this. And, you know, he uses this hand gesture, which is just like, you sit nice, you have title. He's good. I love him. I love him to death because the intention behind it is really good. He just wants me to be happy and do well. That's all that the intention at the bottom of it.
The definition of happiness has become a lot more focused. There are more avenues to happiness now than there were back then.
I think there's always been the same amount.
Well,
maybe.
Not really. I mean, okay, hang on.
I'm not married to that thought, though.
Hang on. Calm down. All right. Just calm down. Put your pants back on. All right, hang on. Wait a second. All right. Think about this. One thing that gets me a lot is, you know, it was better in the old days. I've read on about this. I was like, well, who was it better for in the old days? Definitely wasn't better for blacks, depending which country you were in. Wasn't better for women that were married and lived under fucking, you know, subjugated houses.
I think it's always gotten better.
It's gotten better.
It's probably the best it's
human
ever been
rights,
now.
Human rights, mental awareness, that's all been, it's getting touched on. Like, we're looking at it.
Yeah, I think there's a very high chance it's the best it's ever been.
And people will exploit it like they exploit everything else.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even in the 70s, there were people that pretended to be disabled and they were war veterans when they weren't. They were just doing it to get fucking few extra coins on the corner.
Yep, I'll take the disabled parking sign.
Every vlog
for my mum.
Every vlog that has a disabled sticker,
I'll borrow it.
Do they borrow it?
I stopped doing it. I should do that more,
stealing
actually.
from the government, and they've got fucking disabled stickers.
Yeah, I should definitely do that more now that I think about it. But yeah, no, it's there's always going to be exploitation and corruptness.
But that's what I'm saying.
Corruption.
Pathways to happiness.
Yeah.
A housewife, didn't matter where she really was in the world, right? Maybe Northern Scandinavia was probably the most liberal at that point. But it didn't matter where else in the world she was. Actually, that's not true either. Even in certain other countries in Southeast Asia, there were matriarchs. But
Greeks are matriarchs, aren't they? Are they?
It depends who you ask. You ask the man, I am the boss. You ask the woman, he thinks he's the boss.
I like it. The woman is smart enough to be like, this dumb oaf needs to believe he's the boss, otherwise he
doesn't know where his socks are.
Yeah.
And that's always got to me when like even my parents, I remember when I was a kid, the old man would be having a meltdown because he can't find his tie, his socks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My old man was the man of the house. Like,
yes.
That was 100%.
His name's on the house, but
that was clear. But where his socks were, he had no fucking idea. If his socks had holes in them, God knows where to replace them.
Yep.
Right?
In the bin.
And why aren't there 3 more pairs just lined up behind it?
Yeah.
My point was...
Yeah, sorry. Matriarch.
Go back to like the 50s, 60s, 70s. You had these family units that were held together on pure fear because these women, they could have been the most miserable marriage of all time, but they didn't have the pathways to get the fuck out. Like they didn't have an income coming in.
What percentage do you think?
I don't know. I haven't done the numbers on it.
I'm talking
roughly. Colloquially in Western households.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what percentage.
I think it's quite low.
I don't think it's as low as people. I think people reminisce and make things too nostalgic because they see their grandparents who were perfectly happy for 70 years. Like, they weren't fucking perfectly happy. They were arguing till granddad's last day. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
They were literally at each other's throats.
But you're always at each other's throats.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
Man.
It's
you're not always at each other's throats. I feel like you and I have better coping mechanisms and ability to communicate with like our partners or work colleagues or whatever it is far better than, say, the generations that came before us. I
think so, yeah.
I'd like to think so, because if we don't...
We have access to more information.
And we're willing to take it.
Yeah.
And mind you, I'm a decade older than you, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I can see the generational shift.
Uh-huh.
When I compare myself to, say, my parents, family, friends, relatives. Man, I got relos who fucking literally brawl every day. It's like, that's not healthy.
No.
Like brawling and then going off to the garage to have a dart in silence. You know what I mean?
No. I think you can never be at perfect like coexistence with another human being, but there's definitely healthy ways to go about it.
It's the ability to communicate.
Yeah.
And be able to understand that the world does not revolve around you.
Yeah.
It's important to know that you need to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and take what you want into consideration. Because, dude, my old man never took what he wanted into consideration half the time because he just worked to get food on the table because that's all he knew.
Yep.
It didn't matter. Like, and then you talk to him about his, like, you know, his regrets or whatever the fuck's like, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like, well, you fucking should have.
Yep.
Sure, if you talk to the old lady about it, you probably could have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then it becomes a whole other thing. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty of men that just died silently because they just did what they thought they were obligated to do.
Yep.
Never thought they had another option. It wasn't bred in them to think that they had options or the ability to communicate weakness. It was like, you can't be weak.
Yeah, there's no critical thinking.
Nah.
But at the same time, I do value strength quite high. Like I do
resilience.
I do look down on weakness.
I do.
And I do it quite often. But I won't talk shit about anyone. Like I don't think there's any value in that. But if someone in front of me is complaining about something that I think is just a weak thing to do or weak behavior, I can't help myself. I have to say something to them lovingly and respectfully, but I'm like, you're just being a pussy right now. Like, can you just please, like, you're going to die anyway, whether you complain or not. The only thing you can control is whether you die complaining.
Do you reckon that's it? I know this is going to be a broad stroke, but do you reckon that is highly, it's obvious in cultural division, like across, say, use Melbourne as the example, that face value weakness or reluctance to take on tasks or cope, do you reckon culturally we're bred just differently? Like
I think so.
To handle different sort of things?
So. Yeah,
approach?
I think, but there's a very simple reason for that.
Okay.
It's super nice.
Do I need to turn the mics off now? I'm just waiting for it.
No, but it's just super nice here. That's the simple one. I could go on a hateful rant, but it's not true.
The reason why I say it is because I've worked like in warehouses all over Melbourne, you know, with people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
And like I've worked with, you know, old Greeks that have been doing this shit for forever and they're just fucking like just getting it done, you know, because they've got to get it done. I've worked with Aussie blokes, you know, that have been ripped apart by divorce.
Yep.
And are now paying for like their ex-wife and her new boyfriend and their kids that he doesn't see.
His house.
To live in his house while he lives on the couch, you know, his brother's house, right?
Yeah.
It's like every culture cops it. Like, I'm not saying that. Specifically, the one thing I fucking remember, and this was years ago, was a woman I knew, and she was bitching that she was trying to apply for early pension or something.
Oh, yeah? How old is she?
I don't think she'd hit 60 yet.
Okay.
Or maybe she was given around there.
Getting there? Yep.
Somewhere in and around there.
Yep.
And she's like, I've had enough of work. I can't work anymore, blah, blah, like that.
I agree.
You know? And I went, yeah. Meanwhile, my mum was 70 and still working.
Still working, yeah.
And this is years ago.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck you, dude. Like, are you serious? What? And then when I looked at her life objectively, I'm like, what have you done to, like, pay dues?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is years ago, right? So my thinking was a lot more fucking... Like,
you're thinking a bit more hardline back then, I'm guessing.
And then I'm like, what have you done? Like, where are your hard yards that have warranted you to take a day off when my old man was still working?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I do.
Same age sort of thing.
Yeah.
Now I look at it, and it's like it's like you said, your own truth. I can't help your objective reality. I can't help how you grew up, like you can't help how I grew up.
Yeah.
It's not my fault I was born where I was born. It's not my fault I was born into the conditions I was born in. Like, you can't help being born in fucking Baghdad.
Which is why I try to avoid, like, telling people unless they ask about my perspective, because then it feels like I'm talking down to them. Like saying, you know, I feel sorry for you that you're born here and that your parents are born here and that life's just been so good that, like, any bad thing slightly makes you cry. It always comes out that way because that's how they hear it, which is why I avoid it unless they ask. And people do ask quite a lot, and they very quickly regret it because they don't like what I tell them, which is, your life sucks because it's awesome.
I think that's one thing that gets me really angry when I see these, like, sob stories on TV about some hard upbringing, blah, 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 and then people buy into that narrative. Like, oh my God, they're such a winner. Like, dude, I worked with like 30 Afghans that did the same fucking thing 3 times over.
Yeah.
Came here by themselves in their teens.
And by the way, my view on myself, I think I've had a very good upbringing.
Yeah.
For Iraq.
Yeah, when you look at the norm, the status quo,
we were...
If you're living in Armidale in Iraq, in the fucking late 90s, you're fine.
Yeah. It started
I
getting
didn't live
rough.
in Armidale in Melbourne. You know what I mean?
It started getting rough from the late 70s onwards when Saddam took over.
Yeah.
And it all kind of started devolving. And by the time it was the 90s, it was unstable because he's not friends with anyone around him. He's making enemies everywhere. He's going into Kuwait. To this day, the heaviest air bombardment that's ever been done just because America could, and they decided to make an example, and they probably should have because he was kind of out of control, but were they right to do it? Who knows? Who cares? But by the time it was the 2000s, I lived in, if I said to you, you have to live in Iraq right now, and it's the year 2000, and you can pick anywhere you want, I would probably advise you to pick where we were. Do you know what I mean? Because it was like the best it could be.
Okay. Where was it specifically?
Yarmouk.
Okay. How far from, like, city centre of shit was it? Like,
what do you mean city centre of shit?
You described it as Armidale, right?
Yeah.
If you had to go to the worst part of Baghdad, how far away was the worst part of Baghdad?
I don't know.
Okay.
because I was 9 when I left.
Yeah, true.
I went to Jordan for 10 months, and then we came here.
Yeah.
So I never really... I remember going places, but I don't know. I couldn't show you on the map where we went. I remember going to the pet market, which is like a place where animals are sold. We bought a hawk. We bought a few turtles.
What did you do with a hawk?
Huh?
What did you do with a hawk?
We had it in the house for like a month. It was they're actually surprisingly friendly. And it was quite aggressive in the way it would hold onto your arm when it just chilled out. But as long as you were wearing full sleeve, it wouldn't attack you. It was quite nice. You fed it meat. It was great. It lived in one of the bedrooms that no one used, and it just shat all over the room. So eventually my dad let it free, and it roamed around the house for a few months, and then it left with another hawk. Probably ruined its life. But yeah, we had turtles. We had a sheep once a year that would be there for like a couple of weeks until Eid comes in.
I was going to say.
And I'm like, why are you killing Nelly? Or whatever the fuck we named it. And we had fish in a little fish pond. We had 2 German Shepherds who I grew up with. And one of them was my nanny. Like my dad would, everyone would just leave me in the garden playing on my own. And she'd look after me, and like, I lived a good life. We had a big house. It was like a villa. So I'm not saying, hey, I come from hard times. But I saw some stuff.
I was going to say, was the actual existential threat there, though? You mentioned it. I mean, we talked about it before.
I was young enough that my parents could not make me feel it.
Yeah.
But knowing, like the memories, you can analyze them again and again and again, and you learn about the actual reality of what was going on.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't understand it back then.
Yeah, you put context in it when you look back at it now.
Yeah. So I remember I didn't know, like, from a young age, I didn't know that electricity 24/7 was a thing. I thought that it comes on and it goes off. It's just what it is. I didn't understand that there's the rest of the world, but I just took it as the norm. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It sucked, especially when it's like 48 degrees and it's 3 a.m. and you want to go to sleep and the electricity hasn't come back on so you can put the aircon on. But I just took it as that. And then one day, we hear some news of like America is invading. And I hear it. My parents probably knew a lot more. But
which invasion was this?
2003. Yeah.
Again, and I'll never forget the meme that came up at that time when it had like a guy looked like Rumsfeld pointing at like a clipboard, like at an A-frame. He said, "So we've established the terrorists came from like Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, and I can't remember what the other, Yemen or something.
Yeah.
So we're responding by attacking here." It's like Iraq. I was like, why?
Well, there was a reason, and it was because Saddam got to a point where he stopped selling oil to America. He just said, fuck you. When I'm not selling you my oil anymore, I'm just going to float on it. And you literally did float on it, because if you had a basement, it would flood with oil every year. That's just what it is. Iraq is not an island, but it is an island over oil.
Yeah.
All right. So, and it's quite close. You only have to dig like a few, maybe 10 meters to actually get to the oil, and it would flood and it would go back every year. And Saddam said, not selling him oil anymore, fuck you. They convinced all the countries around Iraq to boycott them and create an embargo. And then hard life got harder on Iraq because nothing was coming in and out. And Iraq makes a few things. They have good produce, they have good agriculture, but they don't do well in industry and, you know, stuff that...
Yeah.
And no one's good at everything. No country is self-sufficient. Everyone needs to kind of trade. And
global civilization, bro.
So they were squeezing, and eventually he likes talking shit. He's from a town that my dad is from. He's probably related to him. And they like talking shit a lot. Like, they're like, you know what, fuck you. Like, we've got the best weapons. And they just went, oh, yeah. He's showing off his weapons. He probably has nuclear weapons. Let's get in there. If he has nuclear weapons, great, we've saved a day. If he doesn't, we get the oil. It's win-win.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There wasn't conspiracy. It makes sense. Of course you'd want to overthrow the dictator
that you installed,
who won't shut up. Well, they sort of did install him and they sort of didn't, because he is that person anyway. They didn't make him that person. But yeah, they probably aided him because they put a king. The British did. The British did wonders for the whole Arab peninsula. They divided all the countries based on the type of people. They basically gave them a system, a government system to run off. They allowed them to elect, and they allowed them to have kings or whatever, presidents, and it was great. And then Saddam was allowed to be in a party, and then he just kind of took over and convinced the king to resign, and then the next day he became president. This is the late 70s. And by the time it was the early 90s, he was already at war with everyone. And by the time it was the early 2000s, the world, mostly America, has had enough of him because they want oil from the region, and he will not sell them anything. He won't bring anything out. Plus, they're like, he's a bit of a nuisance. He might actually
go off his rocker, yeah.
In some weird way. We'll crush him anyway, but we just don't want to worry about it. So, go in first. They went in. Electricity went out at our place. And it went out for a while. It didn't come back. And as soon as it was 24 hours, no electricity still, we're like, something's different. Because it's normal to go out, but then it's like, it's not coming back. And then noises, distant bangs, random things happening far away from us. Fallujah, Ramadi, all these towns that are like between Iraq and Jordan, but part of Iraq, obviously, but not in Baghdad, right? So big battles were happening in the desert in between Baghdad and Jordan. And eventually, maybe on the third or fourth day or something, we heard noises again in the sky. We went outside, or up on the roof, because Iraqi roofs are flat.
It's like Greece.
It's all reinforced concrete. I love that shit.
Yeah.
And we went up, and obviously my parents could have seen a lot more and understood a lot more, but all I remember is seeing little bright lights from very far away, like maybe 50 of them, probably like 50 F-18s or something.
Yeah.
Little bright lights coming in, and then little bright lights going up towards them, and then bigger lights, and then crashing lights, and repeat. And then that's when we went back inside. And my mum was like, there's going to be a few barrels that are going to be coming down the stairs. They're quite loud. Don't worry about them. I'm like, cool. Things got loud, and the area that we were in was not bombed in the initial kind of attack. Eventually, roadside bombings, little things here and there, convoys coming through over the next year or so. Yeah, we saw it. But in that initial thing, the war wasn't where we were, but it was close enough you can hear it. And then 2 weeks later, the war's over because they were just completely overrun. But then the resistance dragged it on for another year. They got stamped out, and then they quickly established convoys and just normal to walk outside. And we lived on a highway. We lived on a street that had four streets, one after another. So incoming, outgoing, incoming, outgoing. And tanks, convoys, all the time. They were friendly because they won. They're not there anymore to kill civilians or anything like that. I would sit on the pillar at our gate, and they'd throw me like military ice cream and military glow sticks. That was the first time I saw glow sticks. I was so happy about that.
Fuck. And you remember this, like vivid.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, man.
There was a curfew, 8 p.m. This is like when COVID happened, and they had like curfews and people were crying. I was like, yeah, I know it sucks. I agree.
My mate's mum, who I've had in here as well, she escaped the Islamic Revolution, and her whole thing was, people are weak. You're weak.
Yeah.
They are weak.
They're weak. Sort of weak. Yeah, but like my dad actually got caught out once because he was out with someone, and then they took too long to go from one place to another. Like, it should be all right. We'll make it home. It was like 8:30 maybe. And they captured him, put him in zip tie, and back to back with his friend, and held him there until 8 in the morning. And then he came home and he was like,
Oh, shit.
they got me.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, so, the curfew was no joke. All the streets were closed. Because if they didn't have the curfew, the resistance had traction. So they just were stamping that out. So fast forward a year or two, my dad gets bombed in a roadside bomb and, like, almost loses his arm. He worked for the Time magazine at the time because he couldn't be a pilot anymore because the government's collapsed. He was an agricultural helicopter pilot, so he wasn't like in the military, so he just had no work all of a sudden as soon as the war started. And he was working as an interpreter. Just by accident, met someone at the mosque, British photographer walking around, being all, I don't know, Western, in the middle of a
Socks put up to his knees, explorer shorts.
His name is Brian. He's a great guy. He's a journalist. He's still going with the BBC. And he was taking photos, and he's like, my dad knows English, and like both my parents are quite good with English, even in Iraq. And he was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm just here to take photos. And he's like, you're going to get kidnapped or killed or something. Like, you look too different. You stand out. What do you want to take photos of? Like, I'll drive you. And he's like, I don't know. Like, he's like, all right, do you want to just, it was close by to our house. Like, do you want to just come back with me to my place? And then we'll have a chat and see, I'll take you wherever you want to go. Comes back to our place. I meet him. My mum meets him. Great, cool. And then he's like, I want to go this place. Hey, would you mind, like, do you want to be my interpreter? You know, your English is quite good. And he's like, sure. So he sort of got in that, like, through Brian, and he introduced him to all the Time magazine reporters and a couple of the SBS guys from Australia. And actually, one of them's the reason we're here, Michael Ware. And so he became an interpreter employed by Time magazine, and all of a sudden had a good wage. And, like, that saved probably the whole family, actually, like, because we were just surviving selling gold over time. All the gold that my mum has accumulated from her wealthy family that's no more, selling that gold, and it's that last little bit, and then he gets that job. And that put us afloat. We were able to save up, apply to come to Australia with my two other half-brothers, but that gets declined because they're over 18 and they're not even in the country. He is in the carpooling with a couple other guys, I think they're all Iraqi, going to work in the morning, just another day. And the resistance puts up roadside bombs, you know, for convoys to go past, Americans, whatever, any military, that's not them. As soon as they go past, they call it, or whatever, how they've jigged it up, or it might be just pressure or whatever, and it explodes. The convoy was always known for causing traffic jams because they would all of a sudden get spooked. They would stop, assess, wait, sometimes 15 minutes, and then go on with their way if they get spooked, right? Well, that morning, he was in the car, convoy in front of them. He saw them stop, and he's like, we're going to be here a while. He's in the back seat behind the passenger. Because the driver's on the left-hand side in there, right?
Yeah.
And he reached over to his friend, colleague, that's next to him in the back seat, and he's like, we're going to be here a while. Chucks a ciggy. You know? He just extends his arm out between the two seats. It goes off. I'm not sure who is alive today from that car, but I think at least two are dead. Pretty sure. I'd have to ask him. And the shrapnel comes through in between the seats and gets his arm. And almost like, it severs the arteries, severs the nerves that control the hand, severs pretty much everything. They have to amputate it, basically. And he was bleeding out. One of the people in the car came around. He was also injured, but he came around, dragged him out of the car, called for help from Time magazine. They came, picked them up, took him to the hospital. Hospital said, we have to cut it off. We don't have the tech or the electricity, really, or the doctors to put it back together. Time magazine said no, we'll pay for it during an air curfew, which is incredibly dangerous. Private plane, medical plane, straight to Jordan. He's in Jordan. He has the surgery. His arm's great now, by the way, after many years. Scars all over it, but works. And he goes there. My mum follows him a few days later. I stay alone in the house. My auntie moves in. 2 weeks later, mum comes back. I had to finish school. That was why I didn't go with her. Had to finish 4th grade. Crucial. And then, jumped on a plane, went to Jordan, 10 months. The Aussie reporter from SBS, Michael Ware, went off his rocker at Australian government and immigration. He was like, this is what you did. You declined them, and you've caused this. Because they're not in Australia right now, you've caused this. He's going to die. He's not going to have... the family's not going to have a dad. They're fucked. And you've caused this. And if you don't do something about it, I'll make sure everyone knows. Because he's a lovely guy. He's awesome, but he's just nuts. He's crazy. He's like, I'll make it my life's goal to fuck you up. Like, if he feels passionate about something. And what do you know? 10 months later, we're here.
You never went back to Iraq from Jordan?
No, we stayed in Jordan until we came here.
You ever gone back?
Nah.
Any interesting going back?
I've been asked this question when I got here many times when I was 10. And I would say, maybe in 20 years. But now...
20 years.
It's almost 20 years. 2 more years.
Did you go back?
There's a part of me that wants to see the house.
Is the house even there?
The house is still there, yeah. My auntie lives in it.
Yeah.
I've seen it on Street View. It looks like shit. Because they haven't maintained shit. My street now used to be all houses. Now it's commercial. Now it's just like restaurants after restaurants. There's not many houses left.
So it actually does look like an Armadale, like as in...
Yeah.
It's a populated area.
Yeah. And all the houses are like, a couple thousand meters squared.
It's so weird, man, because like when I was in Greece last year, I hadn't been since 2014. Mm-hmm. And when I was in 2014, I was there for like a week. So it's just like rockstar tour. Like
yeah. We don't really see anything.
Nah. So 2014 to 2023, 9 years. It's like a decent stretch.
Yeah.
My mum's village was exactly how I'd left it.
Oh, really?
Like literally how I left it, man. Like,
that's cool. There's something nice about that, I think.
I first went in 98.
Yep.
98, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2014. Village hasn't changed. It's expanded.
Yep.
And there's a few new houses that are taking over, like the shit that fell down.
Yeah.
But the essence of it, off, like if I showed you photos,
that's nice.
It literally looks exactly the same. It's in the fucking mountains, and it's just like now you're telling me about like this house in Iraq, which was close enough to a war to hear it.
Yeah,
that you literally abandoned, and you tell me it's like the house looks like shit, but it's in a commercially built up area now. Mm-hmm. Like fuck, man, that's the middle of Iraq, and it's still developed over the last 20 years.
There's a lot of money going through Iraq now.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they've opened up to the world, right?
Yeah.
So there's, as soon as Saddam was gone, even while the war was still happening, you just saw ute after ute full of like future shit. Things that we've been cut off from. Satellite dishes, packed, stacked on each other, ready to go. Everyone just started pointing up at the sky. Internet came in. Mobile phones, satellite phones came in. We were 20 years behind in tech.
Yeah.
And it just all flooded in all at once. You're like, here's a VCR, here's a CD, here's a DVD, go.
So you're interested to go back to see, say, the house, right?
I want to see the house. I want to see my dogs, but they're dead. So
you're hanging on to the nostalgia thing.
Yeah. I also want to see what my street looks like now, and I want to go and have the food, because that's amazing. The food was amazing.
It's weird, because like, I worked with an Iraqi dude years ago, and he was a...
I'll be a tourist. That's it.
Oh, you'd be 100% tourist.
Yeah.
I was working with this Iraqi dude, and it's just a truckie, right? Drove like the B double every day. I'd see him a couple times a week. And I had a couple of Iraqi friends on Insta, and photos popped up of like her birthday, and I see this old bloke in the background. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah.
And I go, dude, is that your old man? He's like, yeah, that's my dad. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I've been working with this dude for like ages, right?
No shit.
Ahmed. Right? Ahmed or Ahmad, I can't remember. He's come down, and the next time I've seen him, I go, man, you're such and such's father. I was like, yeah, how did you know? I go, man, I've known her since like 10 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Showing him photos of like us at birthdays and stuff. He's like losing it. And like, I always used to talk to him. And this was before I actually found out that they were father and daughter. And I'd ask him, I'm like, so how long you been in Melbourne? How long you been here? And he told me he went from Iraq to like Brazil to like New Zealand and then here.
Wow.
And I'm like, what did you do in Iraq? And he's like, it was like some form of diplomat, like some minister, some tourist minister, like some fucking minister in government.
Yeah, yeah.
Until his life got threatened and he booted out to Brazil, then went to New Zealand and then came to Melbourne. And I'm like, and you're a truckie now.
Yeah.
This guy was a fucking minister, like something in, you know what I mean?
I do.
And then I asked his daughter, I'm like, dude, I didn't know you fucking, she's like, yeah, I was young, but I remember it. Like,
oh, was she born there?
She was born in Iraq. But I had no idea that she'd done this whole thing and like lived in different countries.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck? He went from working in the government to being a truckie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How does he feel about it?
Well, I asked him, I go, would you ever go back? He goes, no.
Yeah, no.
I go, why not? There's nothing for me there. He goes, it's not the Iraq that I remember.
I feel the same, but it's even more for me because there's nothing for me there, and it's even if it is the Iraq I remember, I don't want it.
That's fucking huge. Yeah.
I don't want that. This is the best place in the world. I haven't been everywhere in the world. The world's a big place. I've probably been to less than 1% of it, but I've been to enough. And I've been to New Zealand.
Yeah.
I've been to Turkey briefly.
Yeah, I've been to Turkey.
I've been to Amsterdam. I've been to London.
I've done Amsterdam.
I've been to Louisville, Kentucky. I've been to Virginia in America. I've been to Georgia. I've been to... Where else have I been? I've been to Darwin. You know? This is the best place.
Yeah.
Even Darwin is better than anything Iraq can come up with.
Really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Darwin's awesome.
Oh, I don't criticize Darwin. I'm just saying. Like, that's a huge statement. Yeah. Everyone knows Darwin has been this desert fucking town with fuck all. You know what I mean?
It's awesome. There's a weird divide between the Aboriginals.
That's not really a weird divide. It's just a divide.
It's weird because it doesn't exist here. It's almost like you went back in time, like to the 1850s or something.
Wait a second. You don't think there's a divide here between our Indigenous Australians?
They're not here. They're not. There's none of them here. It's so rare
for a reason.
Well,
because there's a divide.
Well, yeah, but if they are here, you see them in SUVs. They're not like separate from society. They're happy to people are happy to have them. They're happy to have people. It's not over there. It's like you don't look at them. They don't look at you. You just go on with your day and you pretend they don't exist.
It's the same country, yeah?
Huh?
It's the same country.
What do you mean?
Darwin is in the same country.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's almost like what it was like here a long time ago, but it's still going on there. And I've never been to Alice Springs, but it seems like that's another level on top.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
From what I hear.
Darwin was it was a shock because I have never seen Aboriginals
to that degree.
I've never.
You wouldn't see Indigenous Australians in Dandenong. They're not there.
They're not there. And if they are there, you don't notice them because they look Somalian or something. They're not they don't look that different to everyone else.
You're a master of race relations, man.
They're not like, they don't stand out. So over there, it's like, oh, what are those like 50 people doing at a park just sitting in circles talking? People go, oh. Like they don't even acknowledge them. And they do that for a good reason because they don't acknowledge them back either. It's just like we agree to just
live and let live. Yeah,
yeah. But then obviously the teenage population of the Aboriginals run amok and do stuff, and then there's laws to protect them. It's a whole thing. It's very complicated. It won't resolve itself in another few hundred years. I think